The collapse begins suddenly. Nathan's voice cracks. He tries to hold it, but it's too late. His composure, so carefully built over years of televised armor, begins to crumble live. Nathan barely audible. I was just a kid. I didn't want a sermon. I wanted my mom. Eli, softly. Of course you did. Nathan wipes his eyes. No bravado. No clever quips. Just a man who never got to cry when it mattered. The camera doesn't cut. The producers don't interfere. Millions of people are watching in real time. As the untouchable Nathan Voss touches something sacred, his own pain, the unexpected. Turn after a long silence. Nathan turns to Eli. Nathan, can I ask you something? Unfair? Eli? Ask. Nathan, do you ever feel like you failed the people who died? Eli exhales deeply. Eli, every day. But guilt isn't proof of failure. It's proof of love. Nathan, visibly shaken. I blamed myself for years, for not seeing the signs, for not being stronger, for not praying harder. The room is still. Eli places a hand lightly on Nathan's shoulder. No words. Just presence. The world reacts within minutes of the live stream. The internet is on fire, not with judgment. With compassion. Watching Nathan break down like that, I felt like I was seeing my own dad cry for the first time. This isn't a talk show anymore. This is a public healing session. God or no God, this is holy. Clips circulate faster than any meme ever has. Not because they're funny, but because they're true. For once, the world isn't laughing. It's listening. After the stream, Nathan doesn't go backstage. He stays in his chair, staring into the quiet. Eli sits beside him, not saying anything, just being there. I feel like I took off a mask, Nathan mutters. Maybe, Eli replies. You never needed it in the first place. They shake hands. But what happens next surprises everyone watching. Nathan stands up and hugs him. Not a TV hug. Not for show. A broken man to whole man hug. A thank you for letting me fall apart and still being here. Kind of hug. A kind of hug that starts where words end. 3 weeks of silence for a man whose voice could command millions. Nathan Voss disappeared without a sound. No posts. No interviews. No statements. The hot seat aired reruns. Tabloids speculated wildly. Nathan Voss suffers mental breakdown after live meltdown. Is Voss secretly converting? Where's Nathan? The internet's loudest atheist goes quiet. But Eli knew better. Nathan wasn't hiding. He was processing. A cabin, a journal, and no anything had gone off the grid literally. A tiny cabin in the woods of Colorado. No signal. No smart TV. Just a battered notebook, a pen, and a crackling fireplace that sounded like it was breathing with him. He woke at sunrise. Hiked alone. Sat by the lake with coffee and no agenda. And every night he wrote. Not punchlines. Not scripts. Just memories. And questions. Lots of questions. What if I was wrong about what strength looks like? Why do I feel closer to my mother now than ever before? Why does Eli's peace make me so angry. And so jealous? Is it possible that I believed in something all along, but I was just too scared to admit it? He didn't call it prayer, but some pages felt an awful lot like one. Letters never sent one afternoon. He wrote a letter. To Eli. Dear Eli, I hated you at first. You didn't fight back. You didn't argue. You made me feel seen, and I didn't like what I saw, but you stayed. And that might have saved me. Thank you. I'm not ready to believe in God, but I'm starting to believe in people again. And that feels like a miracle. NVH, he folded it. Never mailed it. Left it tucked inside his notebook. Because sometimes The message isn't meant to be sent, it's meant to be felt. The return, it was a Tuesday when the world heard from Nathan. Again, no dramatic announcement, just a quiet post. At Nathan Voss Official, I've been listening. I'm learning. Something broke in me, and maybe that's not the worst thing. New episode coming soon. But it won't be like before. Boom. Twitter exploded. The YouTube algorithm started rubbing its hands together, anticipation. Even major networks ran. Teasers. Voss returns. The comeback of the decade? But those headlines missed the point. This wasn't a comeback, it was a rebirth. The new episode it aired with no sponsors. No flashy set. No audience. Just Nathan. Alone. He looked directly into the camera. He didn't smile. Nathan, if you're watching this, you probably came here expecting a show, maybe an argument, a debate, a hot take. I don't have one. I just have a truth. Pause. My name is Nathan Voss. I'm a talk show host, a critic, a lifelong skeptic, and a man who is still trying to forgive a father who didn't know how to love, and a God I'm still not sure I believe in. But I do believe in grace. And that's enough for today. Then he leaned back in his chair. Silence. No outro music. No cue to like or subscribe. Just a slow fade to black. The comments section, the response? Unlike anything seen on his channel before. This man is becoming. And I'm here for it. We need more people brave enough to sit in the silence. It's not about religion. It's about restoration. This is what healing looks like in real time. Nathan didn't reply to any of the comments, but he read every single one. Backstage with Eli watched the episode from his tiny apartment, cat in lap, tea in hand. He didn't cry. He smiled. A small, knowing smile. Then he picked up his phone and sent a text. You found your own language for faith. That's the only kind that sticks. Nathan didn't respond. He didn't need to. A year later, the world had moved on, as it always does. The viral clips? Buried under new controversies. The hashtags? Forgotten? The debates? Absorbed by the algorithm. But for Nathan Voss, everything had changed. Not in the way tabloids hoped. He didn't write a best-selling memoir or start a spiritual podcast. He didn't quit TV or join a monastery. Instead, he just lived differently. And when the hot seat came back, it wasn't quite the same. Same name, same chair, but new tone. It wasn't a stage anymore. It was a space. The invitation. One morning, Nathan sent a handwritten note. The kind people don't send anymore. Eli, it's been a year. I don't want to rehash. I don't want a headline. I just want to talk. Off the record. On the record. Whatever you want. No script. Just presence. 2 days later, a reply. Let's talk. The final episode. It wasn't labeled Part 3 or rematch. No dramatic font. No final showdown. Clickbait. Just Eli and Nathan. 1 year later, they sat in the same 2 chairs. But something was different. Nathan wasn't the host. They were equals now. The conversation. Nathan. It's strange. After everything, I still can't say I believe in God. Not in the way people expect. Eli, smiling. You don't have to. Nathan. But I believe in something. Something that sits with you in the silence. That holds you when everything else falls apart. That listens. Eli. Sounds a lot like God. Nathan chuckled. Nathan. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not so angry anymore. Eli. Sometimes peace is louder than belief. Nathan. And belief is bigger than answers. The unexpected twist Eli took. Something out of his pocket. A folded page. Eli. You left this behind. A year ago. I found it in the studio dressing room. It was the unmailed letter Nathan had written, the one he never meant for anyone to read. Nathan's eyes widened. Nathan. You kept it? Eli. I read it once, then I stopped. I figured it was for you, not me. He handed it back. Eli softly. But thank you for letting me be there, for letting me stay. Nathan looked down at the letter. Then, back up, Nathan. Thank you for not fixing me. They smiled. No hug this time. No dramatic swell of music. Just two men, both changed, not by convincing each other, but by witnessing each other. Off camera later that evening, after the cameras stopped rolling, Nathan and Eli walked outside together. The air was cool. The city hummed like it always did. They didn't say much, but just before parting ways, Nathan said, "You know what the real miracle is?" Eli. What? Nathan. We both showed up, and we both stayed. They shook hands and walked off in opposite directions, both lighter than when they arrived. The conversation begins. Nathan. Let me ask the question that everyone's screaming at their phones right now. Why? Why do you still believe in something that you can't see, hear, or prove? Eli, after a pause. Because when everything I could see, hear, and prove was gone, something still held me together. Nathan. You mean, what? A feeling? Eli. A presence. Not loud, not obvious, just steady. I've lost people, Nathan. People I thought I couldn't live without. But I'm still here. That's not just willpower. That's grace. Nathan swallowed. That word again, -grace. Comma. Nathan strikes back and softens. Nathan. But you must see how dangerous faith can be. People use it to control, to judge, to kill. Eli. And people use words to do the same. Do we stop speaking? Touché. Eli continued. Faith isn't the enemy. What people do with it is. Same goes for science. Same goes for power. Nathan blinked. He wasn't used to someone agreeing and challenging him at the same time. Nathan. What if faith is just a crutch? For the weak? Eli. Then call me weak. But when my world collapsed, I found something to lean on. You ever try walking with a broken leg and no crutch? The room was dead silent. A personal slip. Nathan, without thinking, muttered, I tried. When I was 14. Eli looked up. Eli. What happened? Nathan hesitated. That was off script. Off brand. Nathan, quietly. My mom died. Dad said it was God's will. I never forgave either of them. The studio could have collapsed in that moment, and nobody would have noticed. Even the crew held their breath. Eli softly. I'm sorry. That's not how faith should be used. Nathan, clearly shaken. Yeah, well, it was. There was no sarcasm. Just silence. Raw and terrifying. Eli's story. Eli took a breath. Eli. When I was 20, my sister died in a car accident. Drunk driver. It shattered me. I hated the world. Hated myself for not calling her that night, like I was supposed to. Nathan listened. Genuinely. Eli. But then, I remembered something she said once. She told me, don't let your grief become your religion. I didn't understand it then. I do now. Nathan. So, what? You just moved on? Eli. No. I moved forward. There's a difference. The studio reaction backstage. The producers looked at each other. Carrie whispered, We're not filming a talk show anymore. We're filming a documentary about two men trying to heal. People were tweeting live. This isn't just TV. This is therapy. I came to watch. An argument. I'm leading with tears. Nathan Voss is finally showing us his humanity. The final words of the episode. Nathan looked down, then up at Eli. Nathan. Maybe we've made belief too small. Either you have it or you don't. Maybe there's a third space. Eli smiling. There always is. That's where Grace lives. The show ended with no final joke, no mic drop, no credits. Just two men sitting quietly as the camera faded out. The quiet after the storm, the episode had ended. No credits rolled. Just soft piano notes under the image of Nathan and Eli sitting in silence. Backstage, no one said a word. Not the producers, not the camera operators, not even the unpaid intern, who usually couldn't stop tweeting. Nathan Voss sat in his dressing room alone. Eli had left like he arrived. Quiet, unbothered, peaceful. And Nathan? He was shattered. He didn't know why the interview had affected him so deeply. Or maybe he did. Maybe he'd always known, but had buried it under years of sarcasm, cheap shots, and coffee cups full of control. The truth was simple and terrifying. Eli's peace had exposed his pain. And now the shadows were crawling out of the past, begging to be seen. Nathan's childhood, the first fracture. The flashback came without warning. One moment Nathan was staring at the mirror. The next, he was 11. Years old again, sitting in a dusty wooden pew in a church, so quiet it felt haunted. His father, Pastor Joel Voss, was mid-sermon, shouting about sin, hellfire, and the wrath of God. Nathan sat beside his mother, who was as silent as a Sunday morning graveyard. That day would change everything. After the service, she collapsed in the kitchen. Aneurysm. Gone in minutes. And his father's reaction? Not grief, not rage, not tears. Just 5 words. The Lord gives and takes. That was it. No comfort. No explanation. Just a Bible verse that felt more like a slap, a shattering that night. Nathan stood in the doorway of his parents' room. He heard his father praying, not for strength, not for understanding, but for obedience. Let your will be done, even if I don't understand it. That was the moment Nathan decided he hated God, not because of his mother's death, but because of the coldness that followed. His father didn't cry. He preached. He didn't mourn. He turned. He turned grief into scripture. And Nathan turned belief into bitterness. Back to the present, Nathan stared at his phone, finger hovering over a contact he hadn't touched in years. Dad, he put it down. Not yet. Instead, he opened YouTube. The clip of his on-air confession about his mom's death, about losing his faith, had gone viral. 17 million views, thousands of comments. Most were supportive. Some were cruel, but the ones that stopped him were these. Thank you, Nathan. You made me feel less alone. This is what vulnerability looks like. I've never seen a man tell the truth with his eyes. He closed the app. Truth? He didn't feel brave. He felt exposed. Like someone had pulled open his chest on national television. Eli's past. A different wound. Elsewhere. Eli sat alone in a small garden behind his rented apartment. He didn't own much. Hollywood riches weren't his thing. He lived modestly. Plants, books, and a piano he never played in front of anyone. He looked up at the sky and thought about Leah. His sister. The one person who had believed in him when he was broken, and lost. The one who had died in a crash that shouldn't have happened, because he had promised to pick her up that night. But he'd gotten distracted by an acting class. I'll come get you later. He'd texted. Later never came. The guilt didn't destroy his faith. It tested it. And strangely, through the tears and shame, something whispered to him that he was still loved. That was the start of his faith. Not in miracles, not in organized religion, but in a presence that could hold him even when he hated himself. The convergence. 2 men. One raised by religion, but hollowed out by it. The other rebuilt by faith, after being wrecked by guilt. And somewhere in the middle, the audience, millions of people watching not a debate, but a duet of human pain and resilience. The Letra week after the episode aired, Nathan received a handwritten letter. No return address. The writing was elegant, careful. It read, "Dear Nathan, I'm not sure if you'll ever read this, but I watched your interview with Eli. I cried, not because of what you said, but because I finally understood what happened to you. I'm sorry I failed you. I thought I was being strong, but I realize now I was being afraid. Your mother wouldn't have wanted silence. She would have wanted love. I'd like to talk if and when you're ready." Dad Nathan read it once, then twice. Then he wept harder than he had in 30 years. The final reunion, the producers billed it as a special encore. One last sit-down between Nathan Voss and Eli Stone. No debates, no studio audience, no flashy set. Just 2 chairs, 2 microphones, 1 camera. An intimate setting with no distractions on purpose. Eli agreed, of course. Nathan hesitated, but something inside him whispered, "Go, finish this." The broadcast opens, the screen fades in from black. No theme music, no applause. Just soft instrumental piano in the background. 2 men sit facing each other. The lighting is warm, not theatrical. The camera slowly zooms in. Nathan, smiling gently. No audience today. Just us and whoever's watching from home. Eli, nodding. Sometimes the best conversations happen when nobody's trying to perform. Nathan chuckles, but his eyes are different, brighter, less guarded. Memory leaks through Nathan. "You know, Eli, after our last talk, I started remembering things I thought I'd buried. Not traumatic stuff, just moments." Eli, that's where healing starts. Not with the pain, with the memory. Nathan looked away for a second. "Nathan, I remembered this one morning after my mom died. I must have been 12. My dad left a note next to a bowl of cereal. It said, 'Eat. Grief won't feed you.' Eli, was it comforting? No, but it stuck, which is probably worse." The stage lights burned brighter than usual. Or maybe that was just Nathan Voss's nerves. He hadn't felt nerves in years. Not since his first episode of The Hot Seat, the most watched late-night talk show on television. He was known as the man with the sharpest tongue, the king of comebacks, the atheist who didn't just disbelieve, he dismantled. Religions, philosophies, beliefs, he'd tear them apart with charm, sarcasm, and wit. Tonight, his guest was Eli Stone, and something felt off. The audience in the shadow, the crowd was electric. Nathan's fans didn't come for cozy interviews. They came for conflict, for fireworks, for that moment when someone said something naive or spiritual and Nathan pounced like a lion with a law degree. Eli Stone was the golden boy of Hollywood, quiet, reflective, and annoyingly beloved. Critics adored his work. Fans wrote novels about his eyes. But what fascinated people most was how little he revealed. No scandals, no drama, no Twitter wars. Just a deep, sincere aura that made even cynics uncomfortable. Rumor had it he turned down roles that conflicted with his values. Nathan planned to dig into that tonight. The intro music faded. The camera's red light blinked. Showtime. The interview begins. Nathan grinned into the camera, his voice like honey, laced with sarcasm. "Nathan, tonight we welcome an actor so private, even Google feels left out. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the mystery, Eli Stone." The audience roared. Eli stepped onto the stage in a simple gray blazer and jeans. No entourage, no swagger. Just a small, quiet nod as he shook Nathan's hand. They exchanged pleasantries. Nathan probed about Eli's latest role, a detective who quoted poetry and forgave murderers. Nathan, smirking, "Critics say it's your most spiritual role yet. Any truth to that?" Eli, smiling softly, "Depends on what you call spiritual." Nathan, "Oh, I don't. Not really my thing. I find reality more entertaining. Laughter. Eli didn't flinch. He just watched Nathan, his eyes calm. That silence unnerved Nathan more than any clever reply. Nathan, so let's get this out there. There's a lot of buzz that you believe in some higher power. That you pray. Is that true? Eli leaned forward. Eli, yes. There was no apology in his voice, just a peaceful certainty. Nathan, even with everything happening in the world, you believe someone's watching over us? Eli, I do. Nathan, and what exactly does this invisible friend of yours do when there's war, poverty, and my mother-in-law? Laughter. But it was softer this time. Eli didn't laugh. But he didn't look offended either. Eli, sometimes faith isn't about having answers. It's about how you live in the questions. Something in the air, the room fell quieter than usual. Nathan blinked. That wasn't the usual defense. No fire and brimstone. No threats of damnation. Just a calm, inconvenient truth. Nathan, but surely an intelligent man like yourself must have questions, doubts. Eli, I do. Every day. It wasn't the answer Nathan expected. He was reaching for ridicule, but Eli handed him honesty. Uncheckable. Not dramatic. Not defensive. Just true. Eli, after a pause, but I'd rather build my life on compassion and hope than on cynicism and control. You could hear a pin drop. Even the cameraman stopped chewing gum. Nathan, awkwardly. That single quote's poetic. Eli, you asked about reality. Faith is real to me. Not because I can prove it, but because of how it shapes me. How I treat people. How I heal. To break the show cut to commercial. Nathan sat back, unusually quiet. You've done this 1,000 times, he muttered to himself. He's just another guest. But he knew that was a lie. Eli hadn't argued. He hadn't countered. He had offered something even more dangerous. Grace. And Nathan realized something terrifying. He liked it. The internet explodes. The clip went viral within 2 hours. Fan-edited video of Eli Stone's calm reply. I'd rather build my life on compassion and hope than on cynicism and control. Had racked up 4.3 million views on X, formerly Twitter, and nearly 1 million shares on Instagram Reels. TikTok had soundtracked it over scenes of people hugging, crying, or watching sunsets. The internet, for once, was divided not by rage, but by reflection. But not everyone was on board. Late-night forums and reaction videos were already popping up like mushrooms in a thunderstorm. Is Eli Stone secretly religious? Why is this guy making atheists look bad? That talk show host just got owned with kindness. Nathan Voss's inbox was flooded with fan mail, hate mail, and interview requests. But one email stood out. Was from his producer. The morning meeting. Nathan sat in the dim green room of the hot seat, scrolling through mentions and memes. His team walked in. Carrie, the executive producer, and 2 writers, both looking like they hadn't slept since Reagan was president. Carrie, blunt. We need to talk about Eli Stone. Nathan didn't look up. Nathan. Why? He didn't say anything crazy. He didn't accuse aliens of rigging elections. He said he has faith. So what? Writer number 1. It's how he said it. You didn't mock him. You usually mock. Writer number 2, scrolling through a Reddit thread. And now half the internet thinks you're soft. The other half thinks you're secretly going through a spiritual awakening. There's a fan theory that you cried after the show. Nathan, deadpan. I had a bad contact lens. Laughter. Thin. Tired. Carrie sat across from him, more serious than usual. Carrie. Nathan. Be real. You weren't yourself out there? Nathan. Maybe myself. Finally shut up and listened. The room went quiet. An invitation that afternoon. Nathan did something he never did. He sent an email. To Eli, directly. No. PR middleman. No agent. Subject, another round? Hey Eli, not gonna lie. You threw me last night. Not because you were offensive, but because you weren't. You said some stuff I haven't stopped thinking about. Which is weird because usually I forget my guests before the coffee gets cold. You up for coming back next week? A real conversation. Nothing scripted. NVHE didn't expect a reply. But within an hour. Subject. Let's talk. I'd be. Honored. News breaks fast. The moment the studio announced the upcoming round 2, Eli Stone returns. The media had a meltdown. CNN ran a panel on faith in the entertainment industry. YouTube was flooded with debates titled, Does Eli Stone signal the rise of moral celebrities? Is Nathan Voss cracking under pressure? Spirituality versus skepticism. What the showdown means for us. Everyone was talking, but Nathan was thinking. Flashback late at night. Nathan sat alone in his apartment. The city lights outside didn't reach his living room. Just one desk lamp illuminated a stack of old photos. One photo. Him, age 11, standing beside his father in front of a church. Both of them dressed in suits. Both of them smiling like mannequins. His dad had been a preacher. Fire and brimstone type. Nathan hadn't thought about that man in years. Didn't want to. But Eli's words triggered something in him, not anger, but a memory. Nathan's father. From memory. Faith isn't for the weak, Nathan. It's for the ones willing to be broken and still believe. He had hated that line growing up. But now, was there something in it? The day of the show, the studio was buzzing. Security was tighter. Social media managers were already scheduling posts. Commentators were foaming at the mouth. Nathan was in his dressing room, pacing. He hadn't told anyone, but this was the first time he was doing the interview without cue cards. No jokes. No GOTCHAs. Just a conversation. Eli walked in minutes before taping. No entourage again. He was wearing the same gray blazer. Same calm eyes. Eli, you okay? Nathan, half smiling. You should be asking if I'm ready to lose followers. Eli, with a wink. Truth has a way of weeding out the wrong crowd. They walked to the stage in silence. The air was thick before the storm. Nathan Voss had stood across from senators, best-selling authors, and billionaire tech moguls, and none of them had rattled him like Eli Stone, the quiet actor with the unshakable calm of a man who'd already survived the worst. The studio was different. Tonight. No laugh tracks cued. No cue cards prepared. The seats were full, but the audience had come with a different energy. Not just excitement. Anticipation. Like they were watching history rather than a show. As the intro music faded, Nathan stepped onto the stage and didn't smile. Tonight, he began, we're not here for a debate. We're here for a conversation. About faith, doubt, and the space in between. The crowd hushed. Eli walked out to applause, gentle, respectful. He nodded and took his seat, legs crossed, his eyes steady on Nathan. And then, the fireworks began.